woman is forcibly stripped of her clothes. The nurses work together to throw her into the bathtub, and pushed into the icy water at -30 degrees. Then she was held in place with the lid. She was shivering and twitching from the cold. Turned to look at the patient next to her. She found that her lips were already frozen purple. And this is the most effective water therapy in the hospital. Every normal person has to go through it once to meet the admission criteria. But such a sick admission requirement makes the rich and powerful scramble to send their daughters here. And Lisa is one of them. Coming from an aristocratic family, she has a very strict family upbringing. Strict requirements for every word and deed. She had to behave like a lady at all times. If she was not careful, she was severely criticized by her father, so she was often locked up at home and forbidden to go out. But Lisa, who was free by nature, would sneak into her brother's carriage and wander around the city at will. By chance, Lisa inexplicably had the ability to communicate with spirits. From time to time, she would suddenly talk to ghosts. She even finds her long-lost necklace on the instructions of her deceased grandfather. But her intermittent twitching and babbling became a sign of illness in the eyes of her family. She tried her best to explain to her family what she had seen. No one would believe her. When her father learned of her illness, it was destined that Lisa would no longer be able to stay in the house. So that day he got up early and said he was going to take Lisa to a party. And he made her look good. Strangely enough, the carriage didn't reach its destination after half a day. Tired of sitting, Lisa poked her head out to enjoy the scenery along the way. But she was told by her father to sit properly, so Lisa did as she was told and sat still. When she looked out the window again, she noticed a girl standing on the side of the road in a hospital gown. It turned out that she was on her way to a mental hospital. Lisa instantly reacted. She subconsciously begged her father not to send her there. She tried to explain to her father and brother that she was not sick, but in their eyes, Lisa's actions were just a clown show. Her father coldly told the staff to drag Lisa out of the car, ignoring her anguished cries. She signed the agreement with the doctor in a gentlemanly manner, and thus the normal daughter was sent to the mental hospital. Lisa was being stripped naked and examined by the nurses. She thought she could get out of here if she cooperated with the examination. It wasn't that simple. The head nurse said the only person who decides whether she stays or goes is the doctor. In her current situation, Lisa had to stay in the hospital. She followed the nurses to the group room. Once admitted, it means she must eat and sleep at regular times. Otherwise, she would be severely punished. The enthusiastic girl in red introduced her to the people around her. She realized that most of the people here were rich girls. They were all sent here by their relatives on the grounds of insanity. It was ironic that the so-called mental abnormalities refer to the girls' unconventional female behavior. Most of the girls were put in here because they had refused the commands of men and violated them. They are put in here by their families for the reason that they need treatment. They were even used as props for the rich people to have fun. This is a game for the rich to play. The hypnotist picks a pretty little girl from the insane asylum to experiment on. Under her manipulative instructions, the girl slowly raises her hands and strokes her body from the bottom up. A bunch of men in front of her looked mesmerized. But when the girl's fingers touched her lips, her breathing became very rapid. It turns out that this is not a so-called performance at all. It was to recreate the scene by awakening the memories of the girl's assault in her mind. The girl's limbs began to twitch. Her body lifted upwards uncontrollably. When the men saw this, they gathered around her. They didn't care about her safety. When the show was over, the girl was sent back to the hospital. After a few days of observation, Lisa clearly felt that the whole hospital was emitting an eerie atmosphere. She had to find a way to get out of here as soon as possible. But the spirits that possessed her from time to time made her not as normal as the rest of the world. One day the head nurse happened to catch her talking to herself at the window. She thought Lisa was having another attack, but Lisa turned around and called out the name of the nurse's sister. She was able to tell her sister's age, hair color and appearance. The head nurse was stunned. Many years had passed since her sister's death. How could Lisa, who had just been admitted to the hospital, know this? The head nurse thought that she had made up a lie in order to escape by asking people. Instead, Lisa told the head nurse that your sister was always with you in the hospital. She knew that you had written many letters to her but had not sent them. She wanted you to let go of your obsession and live a good life. After hearing these words, the head nurse stayed in the same place for a long time. The head nurse felt guilty about her sister's death. Only my father knew about it. At that moment, Lisa asked her if she wanted to talk to her sister. The head nurse was very heavy-hearted and did not answer. She pretended to be calm and turned away. At night she couldn't sleep for a long time with the letter. The next day the head nurse approached Lisa. avoiding people. She asked to see her sister in return for her help in escaping from here. Lisa did not hesitate to agree to this condition. At night, when everyone was asleep, the head nurse woke Lisa up. She took her to an unoccupied room. Lisa leaned down and called her sister's name, but there was no answer. The head nurse got tired of waiting. She thought she was a joke. How could she believe the words of a mental patient? Just as she was about to leave, Lisa's whole body started twitching again. After some tossing and turning, her sister attached herself to her body. She grabbed the head nurse and said that her father had had an accident at home and was in a critical condition. At that, the head nurse rushed home. Sure enough, she found blood-stained paper towels on the dining room table. When she returned to the room, she found her father collapsed on this floor and could not get up. Fortunately, she arrived in time to avoid a tragedy. It was only then that the head nurse believed that Lisa really had the ability to talk to spirits. So now it was time for her to keep her promise. But then Lisa's side suddenly had an accident. She had an emotional breakdown after seeing the patient in the next bed being partially paralyzed by the doctors. She shouted at them for being inhumane. They kept driving the normal girls crazy one by one. The doctor immediately had Lisa controlled and then dragged her into unconsciousness. This was the most frightening insane asylum of the 19th century. When a patient disobeyed the rules, either stripped naked and thrown into a barrel filled with ice or doused with 100-degree boiling water to sober her up. Then she was put into a small room with a skylight, but the skylight was not open in real time. Only a few minutes of light each day for Lisa to finish eating. The rest of the day was in darkness. The rest of the time, she was kept in darkness with maximum isolation. The doctors tried to break down Lisa's psychological defenses in this way. I must say that this treatment was very effective. Lisa's consciousness began to fade. The head nurse who came to see her realized, if we don't get her out of there, Lisa would sooner or later become a real mental patient. The head nurse rushed to the director and said that Lisa's condition had improved, whether she could be discharged from the hospital. The director said that she would wait until Lisa had attended the ball in a few days. The head nurse realizes that this is just a way for the director to stall for time. She had an idea that she could use the ball to help Lisa escape. She then contacted Lisa's brother and prepared to work with him on the inside and outside. Strangely enough, on the day of the ball, in addition to the patients in the hospital, the director also invited many famous noblemen to the ball. It turned out to be a party for the rich. Some good-looking girls became their toys. Some impatient boys even made advances on female patients in public. They pushed them to a secluded room when they weren't looking and did things that people didn't like to see. The men at the ball are wearing a mask of hypocrisy. They are hiding their dirty thoughts in their dresses, eyes looking around for a target to attack. And on the other hand, with the help of the head nurse, Lisa and her brother managed to meet at the ball. First they danced as if nothing had happened, avoiding the suspicion of the other nurses. They followed the rhythm of the music and gradually moved away from the crowd. Finally, they hid in an empty room. Lisa needed to change into men's clothes here to facilitate her escape. They left carefully, not to make a sound, but in the end, they were discovered, realizing that something was wrong. The caretaker came after them with his men. By now the carriage was parked outside the door. The head nurse unlocked the door and pushed Lisa out, then locked the door behind her. She was prepared to stay here and take responsibility. Lisa tried to take her with her, but was politely refused. She smiled and said she wanted to stay here with her sister. At the end of the film, the head nurse is diagnosed as mentally ill for letting Lisa go and is locked up in the ward. The torture that awaits her is inhuman. Lisa escapes from her repressive home and lives a free and unrestricted life. She would often write to the head nurse, telling her how wonderful the outside world was. Although the head nurse was imprisoned in a mental hospital, her spirit was free. Well, that's it for this video.